Welcome to the Cowgirl Bookworms podcast, a space for those of us who read books and wear boots. I'm your host, Brandy Bradley. So what's new? What's happening? What's going on here at Books and Boots? And the honest answer to that is nothing. Nothing has been going on. And that might seem weird because that's not what this space is for, right? The space is here to report all of the amazing indie writer things that I have been doing this past week. But I'm coming up short in things that I have to report because I chose to take a few days off for my self-care. So I just finished grading everything for the summer, which is a stressful time in my house. Per the advice of multiple loved ones and my therapist, shout out to Tara, I decided that I would take 3 days off to rest, to do nothing. And it's worked. It's helped. It's been great. Sloan told me yesterday on the phone that I sounded like a completely different person. And I felt like a different person. I told her I was as chill as Waylon Jennings touring with Willie Nelson in the 70s. That's how chill it was up in my house. So I took advantage of some restorative cup-filling activities. I actually read books. I watched TV without multitasking or like typing at the same time. I played video games with my kid. I don't know if you guys have played the game Animal Crossing, but it is surprisingly chill. And I planted some things. I've explored some gardening options for myself. I have these tiny, tiny, tiny little tomatoes that are on a plant in my courtyard area this season that I picked up at Lowe's, of course. So that's been fun watching those things sprout. And the other thing I did is I went shopping for things that I absolutely do not need. Like at all. Like I actually had time to just go to a store and walk around and not be pressed for time or worrying that I should be doing something else. So I invested in stuff that I absolutely didn't need. Such as, just for example, a nail exfoliator. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but this definitely falls into the category of things I absolutely do not need in my life. But a friend of mine recommended it, so I gave it a shot. So apparently it is a substance that you paint on your nails and you paint on this goop. And when it dries, you scrape it off and the process sloughs off cuticle residue or something along those lines. So it's just to make it smoother for your nail polish. And a friend of mine raved about it. And I gotta be honest, it didn't do anything for me, like nothing. I feel like it's the fancy lady equivalent of coating your hands with Elmer's glue and then peeling it off when it dries. So if you were someone who that works for and you love it, mazel tov, that's amazing, happy for you. But that is not necessarily something that I needed. But I own it now, it's in my house. If anyone wants to take it off my hands, I would mail it to you. So reach out to me on Instagram and I'll put it in the mail, come right to your house. Another thing I did, part of the shopping experience, is I let myself get pinned in by one of the cosmetic consultants at Ulta. So Ulta is one of my favorite places to go. It is one of those, it's much like a bookstore where I just like to go and touch all the things. And I appreciate how hard the people at Ulta are working for their money. They are great. They are so nice. They are very considerate. But I am not a person who enjoys interacting with people because I know that the second that I am in their clutches, I'm going to purchase whatever they suggest. I'm very suggestible at that moment. So when I go to Ulta, I like to dip in on a weekday morning wearing my noise canceling headphones and I just try not to make eye contact. I'm nice. I smile. I wave. I do not engage. That's my goal. And this particular time that I went, I stopped on the absolute worst day of the week to walk into an Ulta. I was there on a Saturday. Saturday is showtime at Ulta. They have 2, sometimes 3 consultants working every area, at least at the Ultas that I go to here. So despite the fact that I was wearing my headphones, someone grabbed my attention, and the next thing I know, I walked out of there with 2 serums, a bronzer, a blush, and a lip tint that wasn't technically released that they pulled out from underneath the counter to show me how great this new item was. So, I mean, I was pleased with everything I got. I loved everything in the bag. She did a fantastic job. She made up my face. It was the whole experience, but lesson learned. No in-person shopping on the weekends. It's just too chaotic. Also, it's part of the whole self-care thing. I have shallowly become obsessed with the bags underneath my eyes. The left one has actually divided itself into multiple bags. So it's no longer just bags, but it's like this matching set of luggage hanging underneath my eye. And I'm doing it all. I am quartz rolling. I am elixir applying. I am wearing little patches underneath my eyes around the house, trying to get them to shrink or at least get them down to the size of a carry-on or personal item size. I'm just doing whatever I can because the strain of the semester is apparently all over my face because that's what getting older does. So that's fun. This is a fun thing. So what's the story? This week, I'm going to read to you a post that is available on brandybradley.com called Creating Writing Space. Months ago, when we moved into the condo, I fell in love with it because it had a room off of the living room with French doors that was being used by the previous owner as a teen media room. The realtors called it an office. I recognized it for what it was about to be, the writing studio. I love it here. Like, seriously, this is the only room I ever want to be in. It's cozy. It's colorful. There are pillows and blankets everywhere. I keep books and notebooks within arm's reach. And there are so many chargers for laptops, tablets, headphones, and other tools of the trade. This writing space was a long time coming. Virginia Woolf states that one needs money and a room of one's own to write. It was an essay about privilege and who has the time and the agency to write. And after many years of making do and getting by, I finally had a space that was set aside for writing. I've always just written wherever I could, whenever the mood struck me. Desks, recliners, kitchen tables, the floor, the front porch, and more often than not, my car. My car was a space that never let me down. The music was good, there were 0 distractions, and if I got hungry, the Wendy's drive-thru was never far. I would park at the far end of the Walmart parking lot if it was unoccupied with retiree campers, and I would sketch out a scene. Many times, creatives like to wait for all the circumstances to be perfect before allowing themselves to make something. They want to wait until they have turned their hall closet into a cloffice. They're waiting to purchase the best supplies. They're waiting to take the right classes. They want to wait until their house is clean. They want to wait until the kids have gone to school. They want to wait for retirement. It's just another form of procrastination. It's basically saying, I'm worried that what I want to make is imperfect, so I'm going to stall waiting for the perfect moment, and therefore what I will eventually make will be perfect. It's the struggle of knowing that first drafts are lousy, but also falsely believing that the, quote, real, unquote, artists don't make garbage. Everyone makes garbage, even in perfect creative spaces. I'm guilty of this false belief as well, mostly because of everything I've read or viewed. Like I said, Virginia Woolf wrote that a writer needs a room of one's own. Stephen King advised his readers that writers need a room with a door that closes. He wrote out of the family laundry room for years. Heather Sellers wrote how she made an office in her tiny apartment out of cardboard. J.D. Salinger commandeered a bunker in his backyard. I didn't have a bunker or a laundry room. And as crafty as I am, molding cardboard is not one of my skills. I wanted those things, those spaces where I could tell myself that I am a real writer. But none of the places we have ever lived before were large enough to accommodate much of anything. Although I did use a small folding table and chair to work out of the larger closet for a short time. It must be a place where someone feels comfortable enough to make something. I couldn't wait. I didn't want to wait. The perfect place or the perfect time was not possible because the story was fighting its way out of my body, and I needed a place to write it down. Writers have processes and routines. One writer I know Skypes a friend for write-in sessions where they do not talk to each other, but only write while they are on the screen. One of my writer's friends only needs a laptop, a couch, and endless old episodes of Bridezillas. I wrote a lot of my last novel sitting at a table in the library, listening to the many episodes of the Dateline podcast on my noise-canceling headphones. I'm fascinated with both real and fictional writing spaces. I have a Pinterest board that's mostly images of writers in those writing spaces. Joyce Carol Oates, Susan Sontag, Neil Gaiman, Elmore Leonard, and more. My favorite scene in Knives Out is when the characters are playing the game in the writing studio, and you can see Post-it notes stuck above the old desktop computer. I watched The Hours about Woolf, who was depicted writing in her favorite chair where she threw a plank of wood across her lap for a writing surface and twirled a dip pen between her palms. In Wonder Boys, Grady types at a desk next to a bay window wearing a pink chenille robe. In lieu of a pink robe, I've developed a fondness for a thinking hoodie, which served me well in grad school. Until we moved into the condo, I was doing all of my writing outside the house. I hit up every Whole Foods, Panera, and Starbucks that suburban Atlanta could offer. The Wi-Fi was strong, the food was consistent, and the bathrooms were relatively clean. I just couldn't write inside of an apartment that was always distracting me with cleaning, cooking, and Netflix series. But now that I have the writing studio, I've become incredibly spoiled. With my note cards taped to the wall next to pink Post-it notes with character reminders like, Lindy's wife is now named April, Control F all Elizabeths, or Ross wants to leave Kentucky, or make sure not all your character voices sound the same. I still have many of the same distractions, but at least I can close the door. Also, the clutter in the studio is mine. If I leave a yogurt cup on the table, I know I need to throw it away, as opposed to the living room that's cluttered with toys on the floor, homework sheets on the coffee table, and a pile of old lottery tickets next to Hub's chair. I've had a few days where I've been run out of the studio for home projects or other complications. Last fall, I hid in an empty classroom to write for an hour on my break between teaching classes. It's like falling into an old routine. So when those days happen, I pack my bag with my tablet and my keyboard, my headphones, my journal. I find a spot, I order a coffee, and I get to work. Because really, all you need is the desire to get to work. I want to take this opportunity to let listeners know that if you need that boost to get you going, to get started, to get yourself in the mindset of writing your story, check out my upcoming online course, This is What a Real Writer Looks Like. You can join the waiting list to be notified when it will launch at brandybradley.com/writing workshops. Also, remember, if you have enjoyed this, there is new content on brandybradley.com/blog each week. Currently, I'm working on my summer series where I'm making plans for continuing my recuperation. I've been longing for fun, and I plan to make it happen while I am rebooting from all the teaching. Also, the brandybradley.com shop is open with many short stories, essays, and the novel Mothers of the Missing Mermaid. It is literally a beach read in that it takes place on the Emerald Coast in Destin, Florida. It's a story of a young woman who realizes she was kidnapped when she was a toddler and is on the search to find her biological family. Thanks again for listening. Read books, wear boots, XOXO.